I have been talking here for the longest while, and 6 minutes, and my mic was muted. My mic was muted. So I got to do this all over again. That is ridiculous. But nonetheless, I am thankful for the opportunity to be here with you this evening. And this evening, we are expecting to have Breaking Out of Depression coming on live, but unfortunately, they won't be able to be with us this evening due to um, the celebration of Carnival in Trinidad. However, Breaking Out of Depression will be on live next week, Tuesday, with Brother Andy Charles and Sister Gabriella Woods. I want to encourage you to tune in and receive the information. Not only receive it, but make the necessary applications in your life, because depression is indeed real and it affects everyone, not just individuals outside of the church, but there are individuals in the church that suffers from depression. And this program is designed to help you break out of depression. Tonight, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share one of the older programs with you, one that I really appreciated, right? But before I do so, I would just like to give you a heads up as to some of the programs that we have that comes on live every single week. We'll start with Monday. Every On a Monday morning, we have at 7 a.m. we have 5 and 5 with Brother Elijah Libla from the island of Dominica. This is a short, precise, roughly about 7 minutes long, right? Encouragement that you can receive every morning, Monday to Friday. And at 8 a.m., we bring to you Give Me the Bible broadcast with Brother Martin Royer from the Cayman Islands. This is a repeated program. This program is aired on the Cayman Airways on a Friday morning. However, we are bringing that program to you on Living by the Word every Monday at 8 a.m. And at 9 a.m. on Monday morning, we bring to you Amen for Men with Brother Paul A. Blake. That's a program that is designed to encourage men, young men, middle-aged men, older men. As long as you put on your pants one leg at a time, that program is for you. And we encourage all, to tune in to our YouTube channel, like and subscribe, so whenever we are on live, you will indeed be notified. Also, every Tuesday to Friday, we bring to you inspirational thoughts with yours truly, Dexter Honore. That's a program that I do every single morning, roughly 30 minutes long, a program that is designed to take us through the scriptures and extract the encouragement that we need to face each and every day. Also, every Friday, we bring to you Action Friday with Brother Ricky Cooper. Though that's a study that you don't want to miss. Brother Cooper goes deep into the scriptures, and currently he is looking at the book of Luke. So if you want to know more about the book of Luke, then you need to tune in every Friday from 7 p.m. And also every first and third Friday in every month, we bring to you Level Up Your Marriage with Brother Paul and Sister Raquel Blake from Jamaica. And by the names that I've shared, you would have concluded that it's a couple. Yes, they are. And they are both qualified to speak on the subject of marriage. They have written multiple books, and there are still some in the pipeline. And I want to encourage you to tune in if you are thinking about getting married, or you are married and you're probably experiencing challenges and difficulties. This program is definitely for you. We have a few other programs in the pipeline, and we're looking to incorporate a new program coming soon every Monday evening. And this program is going to take us on a journey through the Christian life. We're going to interview different individuals where they share their Christian journey. So I want to encourage you to look out for this program. It will come on soon. And this program, the objective is to omit the polished form of Christianity that many know, right? And present Christianity in its purest sense. So please look out for this program. I've said enough. So at this moment, I would like to share tonight's presentation with you. I trust that you will listen attentively and extract the necessary encouragement that you need. This program was aired last year, so if you missed it, you have another opportunity to see that program this evening. Once again, we want to thank you for being a part of the program. Those of you who are listening via Zeno, those of you viewing via Facebook and YouTube, you are our honored guests or VIPs. We do appreciate every one of you. And I know Brother Andy and Sister Gabriella, they are missing tonight's presentation. They're really missing it. They love the time here with you. So without further ado, please let me just share this with you all quickly. Please do enjoy.
Hey guys, and welcome to this episode of Breaking Out of Depression. We are indeed very excited and indeed very happy just to be alive and to be able to share with you this most priceless and valuable content that we know is going to make a difference to your lives, your family, your friends, and your loved ones, people who are affected by various levels of mental health illnesses and the challenges that comes with things like that in our world today. We are grateful and thankful unto God that He has spared our lives and given this opportunity unto us that we can build and grow in this community together. And as we do so, we really want to take time out to just give Him thanks for this opportunity. Our guest is live in the studio, and we're about to introduce him in a moment. But before we do so, let's just go to God in a moment of prayer and thanksgiving. Heavenly Father, we indeed thank you for your mercies and your grace. We thank you for the joy that you have given unto us and the opportunity to come before your people and to present this information, this knowledge, this inspiration, the means by which they can be transformed and live a more valuable and fulfilling life. We are indeed grateful and thankful unto you. And we pray that everyone who has made it possible for this broadcast to be a reality, that your blessing would continue to be upon them, body, mind, and spirit. We pray, God, that everything would be done in decency and in order, and indeed the information, the message, the content that is shared would touch and move hearts and lives, and many would be blessed. We thank you so much for this opportunity. Be with us as we go. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, with thanksgiving. Amen. So we are here live in the studios, and we thank you so much for your continued commitment and your continued support for this program. I'm going to do a little bit of house cleaning before we introduce our guests. You know how it goes, right? So, first of all, let me remind you that we are building together a resource directory personnel free to all those who send me an email to lovebitsa@gmail.com or WhatsApp at 1-869-664-4365. That's lovebitsa@gmail.com or a WhatsApp message at 1-869-664-4365. Remember to also support our other programs on the LBW Zeno Radio Network: Iron Sharpnet Iron, Action Friday, Brooklyn Bible Study, Level Up Your Marriage, Bible Chat at High Noon, and every Monday, Discussions for Men, Amen for Men with Brother Paul Blake out of Jamaica, and also morning devotions and thoughts with our own brother Honore. Remember also every other Saturday to tune in with our brother from South Edmonton in Canada with regards to the history of the churches of Christ around the world. The theme for the year: Let God Do More for all of 2024. The scripture being Isaiah 43:18 to 19. I will not read it this afternoon. We need more time with our guests. The episode is entitled Navigating Parent Child Bonds Across Generations with Marcus Aurelius Higgs. We'll give you the thought of the week later on in the program. So let me tell you a little bit about our guest. He is very interesting and an intriguing character. As an educator and mentor to young people, Marcus Aurelius Higgs from over 20 countries have developed a profound understanding of how to be human and bring forth our innate greatness using the relationships we have with ourselves and between our family, communities, and the world around us. He supports parenting of teens using the Show Up framework, which he's going to tell us about in a moment. He is also a communication coach with special interests for parents of preteens. And if you had tuned into our program last week, we had Dr. Kelly Bonhoff, and we were speaking about family and the dysfunctionalities of family having to deal with things from the past that they did not deal with. They had no closure. They did not find the opportunity to somehow come together as a family and deal with an innate challenge that created so many dysfunctionalities. And as a result, it created a lot of anxiety and distress. So we continuing in the theme of family with our focus on preteens. And I know it's a challenging aspect that we have to face every day as parents. So, without further ado, Dexter, let's introduce our guest, Marcus Aurelius Higgs, live in Breaking Out of Depression. There he is. Welcome.
Hey, Brother Charles, how you doing, sir? Or
I,
Andy, how do you want it?
it doesn't matter. Whatever
All
makes
right,
you
all
feel
right.
comfortable, we will just go with it. So, Marcus, just to set things right, I'd like you to describe for our audience what makes your work dealing with parents and preteens so absolutely special. And I know it is. It seems to have driven a place deep in your heart. What makes it so special for you?
The what comes to mind is um, be mindful of the voice with which you speak to children, for in time that becomes the voice with which they speak to themselves.
Right.
And it's at this formative time of their life when they're gaining their identity. And and when they're gaining their identity, this is the lens by which they're going to see the rest of their life. And their identity is being broken right now, but we're made stronger in the broken places. So this is the time when I feel these are the breakthrough years. These are the years where it's just like, okay, you're coming into your own independence. And we could talk more about this later. But as you're giving them those words and as you're giving that the communication that is shaping and framing them, they're going to take this on into their life when they become interdependent, when they become a part of society that is contributing back to you. So that's why the work is important.
Communicate with their preteen.
That will happen for sure, definitely.
Right.
And then I'll tell you the one that's unique about our time.
Right.
Okay, so I call it a wall of ice. Ice is
Hmm.
identity breaking, and what I
Yeah.
mean by that is they were dependent on their parents, and everything their parent told them was black and white, and that was gospel because they trust their parent, right? And then in adolescence, and this is a natural thing. A natural thing is they're supposed to turn away. They're supposed to want to form their own identity, right? And a parent, ideally, you're pushing them away. They're still secure, they're still safe. It's still you're loved here, but I need you to try some things on your own. And that kid doesn't understand. So it's like, what is my role now? Am I a child? Am I an adult? And it's that in between stage. So their identity, they're not sure. It's miscommunication there. The second thing is they don't know who to trust then, because that's where skepticism starts to come in. They're like, do I trust my parent now? Or they're starting to see other worldviews. And ideally, you're in a community where there are other trustworthy adults there. So they're like, okay, this is making sense, and this is making sense. But then who's right? And they're trying to figure out and think all of these things. So mistrust, right? The third thing is emotional management. And what it is at this stage, developmentally, biologically, the highs feel high and the lows feel low. And managing your emotions, this is the first time really doing it at this level. And if they're trying to do it by themselves, putting up this wall of ice, they don't know where to get help, right? Now that's what usually happens in human development for all the time we've been here. What's unique about this age, this challenge, my work, I say it starts with a strong identity. The kids, they're forming their identity on the backsides of screen. And what do I mean by that? We are the stories we tell ourselves, right, Andy? If we're flipping through and we're always going through and so many stories are coming into our mind and our eyes, and we're getting this view of the world while our brain is developing, our identity is being formed in this little box behind the glass. And I'm not against technology. We're talking on technology now, right? But when you turn that off, the kid doesn't know who they are. And if you don't know who you are, you can't deal with the stresses of life. The inevitable, the stresses will come. That's how we grow, right? Um, but if you turn off that box, the question is, who am I? And if you don't know who I am, it'll wash you away. And that's where a lot of our anxiety comes from. That's where a lot of our stress is coming from in this day and age.
As you speak about that, it takes my mind to a term that we use quite often, and I don't know if we really understand
Talk
how
to me.
important it is. It is
Mhm.
called role model. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking to myself, based on what you're saying, Marcus, how critical is it for parents to understand that they are going to be imitated by the children that are now beginning to formulate their ideas and their values and their concepts? And it
Yeah.
is critical in those preteen years for that role to be so cognizant of the messages, the images, the values that you are sending out as you play that role. You know, we reminded in church Sunday gone that while all men were supposed to be born leaders and were created to lead, all men will not lead.
Mm-hmm.
That's a sad truth. But
Mm-hmm.
from your expertise, from your experience, how critical is that specific role model impacting on the mind and the imagery and the value of the preteen, even as they begin to form their own values and identity for themselves?
All right. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'll say it like this. You can't be what you can't see.
Ah,
So if you can't hold an image of something, how are you going to model it, right?
right.
Now here's the tricky thing. I also in my work it's emergent. It's coming forth. We want beauty to come forth, right? And we have to model our virtues and values, and I could speak to that. But while we're modeling our virtues and values and we're regulated, we're setting the tone of regularity, we let them know they are a part of us in our identity, and we also want them to form their own. And that's where like there's a little bit of a rub. And when I say rub, Rumi says, if we push away everything that rubs us, however will we shine? There is that rub. And if you learn how to communicate and how to develop and grow, this is what life is. Life separates and then it comes back together stronger. Separate. That's how muscles are built in the gym. That's how we form as babies. We separate and we come back together. So, but you have to be a role model. You're right. I totally agree with you. I call it a trustworthy present parent. But watch us now, right? It's great as thy faithfulness. No, the sun every day it rises and it sets, and it rises and it sets, and that's why we say it is faithful. No, because it knows and it doesn't argue with anybody. It's just the sun. It does what it does. Um, some people may hate it. Some people may be grateful for it, but it's doing what it does and it's faithful. And that's what we're asked to do. Just do what we do and be faithful. Now, however, one thing I'll add, when we break trust, that's actually where the growth happens. Now, this is interesting because when we break our trust, when we're not, we have to do three things. We have to say, this is not the type of person I want to be. That's your identity. Second is saying, making it right, making it right, making it proper. And then the third thing is saying, this is how I will be going forward. You change your action going forward. When you do that, that's how you build more trust. The person is just like, oh, and that's where we're stress progressive. We start to grow. So don't think if you break trust that it's all over. No, 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 no. We have to teach our kids. That's when we come back to make restitution. You make it right. You mend the promise. Yeah.
I'm reminded of a world where I see so many people struggle with their children, and they do all these studies. They talk about hormonal changes and culture and the social media impact. And for a moment, I feel as though we are kind of taking the responsibility that's supposed to be on our shoulders and putting it on other things. But I like what you said here. You said that your preteen is stressed as they enter this first stage of their adolescence. How are they stressed? You identified three things: one, identity breaking; two, collaboration mistrust; and three, emotional management. You want to break that down for us a bit, Marcus?
I, I've said it. You've repeated, and I think, honestly, I think they got that. However, I'll still take those same notes and I'll flip it. I'll flip it. Looking back at my life, so religion was never a burden for me, or rather, a sincere spiritual connection with the divine in prayer. I grew up inside a community that was loving and caring, and that's not to say it's not without its stress. That's just saying I had a sincere relationship with God. Yeah, I knew who I was from the inside out. I had a strong identity, and this is not any praise to me. This is just I'm reflecting on it in the work that I did because I'm a peculiar person. I'm different. And in being different, I had to say, who am I? Second thing, um, mistrust. The second thing is collaborative mistrust. We would work with people to do community building activities. We'd go to the prisons. We'd feed people. We observed the Sabbath, sunset Friday to sunset Saturday. We would say we're a friend to man and a servant of God. Um, BYOB, bring your own beliefs, whatever you want to believe, but we knew that we were part of the community and we contributed to the community. And that's who we collaborated with. We worked with other people in our faith and other people outside our faith to bring well being to the community. And then emotional management, again, still having big emotions as a teenager, but I felt good doing the stuff I was doing while my hands were in service to the Lord. I wrote poetry. I was in choir, and this isn't. You don't have to do this stuff. Like that was me. That's my identity. But my point is being, if they know who they are, if they're working towards the well-being of themselves and the well-being of others, don't mind these balloons, and they're still gonna go through emotions. But again, you're layering on. Oh yeah, I'm part of something bigger than me, and it feels good, and you start to manage your emotions. Yeah, you start to cast all your cares upon the Lord when you start to be swayed this way or that way. So those are the problems, yeah. They're also the solutions, yeah. If you flip it, and then we can get into show up afterwards. But I just wanted to take it and say, hey, just look at what's on the opposite side too. Yeah, yeah,
Wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. It's that's kind of revelating to a certain extent and refreshing. Thank you for sharing, Marcus. Appreciate that.
for sure, for sure.
Why do teenagers tend to pull back at times and desire more independence, more dominance of themselves? What causes that kind of reaction?
Two things I want you to think about. One is
Uh-huh.
if their roles are changing, there's an
Yeah.
expectation of them, but this is the first time that they've this is the first time they're coming with these expectations, not knowing the full rules. It's
Okay.
kind of like if you entered a new job, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know who to ask for help. You don't know if we do ask for help. You're not sure, and you're kind of apprehensive, right?
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah. And if this is the first time they're doing it, they don't have those skills to manage that anxiety. So the first thing to do is to separate. Yeah. Um, a second thing I want to think about is imagine if you had a house, a beautiful house. You had your couch, your pictures, your flowers, and everything. And every time you invited this person into your house, they flipped over a chair and didn't put it back. They messed up your table and they left the bad smell in there. And then they left. Would you invite that person over? Now here's the second one. Every time you invite this person over, they might see something. There's something particular. They help you clean it up a little bit. They might even leave a plate of food or something. And you're like, oh yeah, that was enjoyable to have that person here. Their mind is that house. Do you allow people into the house to help you organize and make sense of it? And if constantly every time they come in there, they're judging you, like you're not going to invite them into your house anymore. That just makes sense. We do that as adults, eh? It it's just now as a kid. This is the thing though. When you leave that house, when they go out into the world by themselves,
Hmm.
that voice still stays inside there.
Okay. I get it. I get it. So, seeing that we come to this point, Marcus, what strategies can parents use to gain insights into their teenagers' emerging authentic self? And I'm reading this from the information, which they often reserve for their friends. I like that part the most. Why are you only just reserving it for your friends?
You know, all of us. This is human development, though.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
certain way you show up for your wife and your family, Andy, and then when we come on air, there's a certain way you show up for us.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Mind you, there's an authentic Andy. It's not that you're not being real, but
I
it's
hear
it's
you.
just it's just that how much of that do you show? Now, mind you, you're an older man. I don't know how much. I don't see any wisdom, any gray, but I know you're grown. My point is, when you're a kid, you don't know how much to show and how much not to show, right?
I hear you.
One thing it's called psychological safety. It is being able to be your authentic self without fear of threat.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel you're going to be threatened or you're going to be caused harm, and oftentimes psychological harm, um, it could be physical harm, could be
Yeah.
emotional harm or not acknowledged. Like you're not going to be your authentic self, and if you're not your authentic self, if you can't express yourself, um, you're going to learn to shut down. Now, mind you, I say if you can't express yourself, when an expression is not aligned for what where we need at the moment, that needs to be addressed. That behavior needs to be addressed. All emotions are allowed. I get that's your understanding of the world, but not all behaviors. And we talk about that. And it's how do you address that behavior? How do you walk inside their mind to help them understand how to behave and how to show up and how to still be your authentic self without while contributing to the well-being of others.
Wow. So we have been taught, as a life and development coach, we have been taught to deal with certain signs and symptoms, pay close attention, and understand the body language of people, understand the movement of the eyes, the lips, the cheeks, stuff like that. I know you know what I'm talking about, and it's like a placement philosophy. And sometimes people rock back because they think they have to defend themselves, or they move forward because they think they have to be aggressive. How do we help parents to deal with potential aspects of oncoming mental health concerns such as anxiety
Mhm.
and depression in teens? Maybe it's because of peer pressure, maybe it's because of bullying. And I love keeping it real because some of the things we have to deal with almost every day.
Yeah.
What can the parent do to be in a place where they can observe and recognize? Because the child may feel, I can't say this to anyone, I can't tell this to anyone. But
Mhm.
how can we create that sense of trust enough for them so that at least we can have an idea something is wrong and we need to address it?
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. Um, the reason I work with this age is so that we can establish this foundation of trustworthiness, because trust is built over time. That's the thing about it, right? So that's why I'm working with this age, um, because if you lay that foundation now, this saves a lot of headache for later on. Now, that said, trust has three parts. One is it's telling the truth. All growth starts with telling the truth. And you know what? The other person may not understand it as your truth, but it's just like, this is authentically mine. And if you're not known to lie, then yeah, you need that pillar. The second thing is it shows, it makes sense. It logically adds up, right? And you don't have to argue for it to say this logically follows this or that, but it's like, I saw this, and this is what happened. The third thing is it has to show it cares for you. There's well-being there. So you trust me if what I'm saying is true, if it makes sense, and if you know I'm acting in your care. Now, the thing is, you can't just throw all of this at one time and be like, why don't you understand this? One thing you could do is make small little interventions, we call it, or just small pockets that it might be, we call it U time. It's small pockets set up that you can come to again and again. Um, and when I say come to again and again, again, this is regulation. This is a pattern saying I'm coming with you at this time because you're worthy of my attention, and whatever you want to discuss, you can discuss. The reason is you build when you want to build a relationship, you make time for that thing. If you build a relationship with the divine, there's a time at the beginning, the bookends of your day, the beginning and the end, and then you pray without ceasing in between. But you do have those set points of time of, hey, this time is yours. If you have a partner, a wife or a husband, you say this time is yours. That might be date night, but you spend time with that person because you care about that person, and it doesn't have to be long or big, but it's knowing I'm gonna check in now. Maybe if you have a walk around the block once a week with your child, you know, might be when you're driving home from school. Maybe one day out of the week you stop by a place and get their favorite drink and say, "Hey, let's just sit down. I wanna hear from you." And even if they still don't want to open up, then even still, they are gonna open up when they're ready, and that's when you need to be present for those moments. There's one last tactic I'll share with you because kids express themselves differently. One is this letter writing exercise where you're writing to their virtues and values. And virtues and values are a specific thing. It just means virtues are the actions that you work towards for the well-being of people and for the well-being of yourself. Values are what's important to you. Different people have different things that are important. So this is how we establish our identity. In this letter writing exercise, you say, hey, this is what I noticed. This is what I noticed. And what you're doing is you're bringing their awareness to an empowered identity. So they're like, oh, something outside of me noticed this inside me. Oh, that must be true. And then at the end of the letter, you say, if ever you want to come and talk to me about anything, bring this letter back to me and you'll have my undivided attention for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes. And this does two things. It's beautiful. When you give it to them, it's like you're putting money in a bank and it's gaining interest because it's sitting in their head now. They're like, I know that I can go to them. I know I'm supported. I know I'm supported. I don't have to guess or think about it. And then when they actually use it, you honor it. You say, okay, you sit down. So that's one tactical way. And then there are other strategies. Yeah.
I love it, that aspect of writing that letter, taking time out to stop on the way back home from school or wherever, and just giving them their favorite drink or their favorite meal or whatever, and just me you time, dong time. I
Hey.
love it. It makes so much difference. Here's the thing that I am really concerned about, and I spoke about this in our last program, our last episode. What about parents who have had some serious challenges in their lives in the past,
Hmm.
and they are living with something in their DNA that they can't shake? They want to open up, they want to collaborate, they want to display trust, but they just can't seem to bring themselves to do it. There's the possibility for new neural pathways to be developed, but they don't know how.
Yeah.
How can you help them, Marcus?
Yeah. So I am a life coach.
Right.
And I work specifically with the parents. So
Yeah.
I don't work with kids anymore. I used to.
Uh-huh.
I used to be a high school teacher, and then I was a mentor when I came out of high school. Um, my approach to what trauma is, in my just to have a definition of it, trauma is an event in the past. Your perception, you're looking at this event in the past that's unprocessed, or you hold a certain meaning for it, and so in the present you can't show up how you want to. I will also say there are times when we seek professional help. I'm not a professional psychologist or psychiatrist. Um, I do hold conversations and exercises and give new perspectives because we are the stories we tell ourselves. Um, no, and I believe that your ability to process this traumatic experience that happened, it is with you. I know it's with you, and I can explore around that to have you have your breakthrough with different interventions, different approaches. Now, I say I work with parents of preteens. Oftentimes, when our preteens are doing things, this is a hard concept, but it's not them, it's how we're responding to them. So then, really, I am doing personal development, but I'm using the thing that you care about the most, and that is your kid. But I'm using your kid to understand you, for you to understand you. So when you understand of who you are and you make sense of these situations in the past, that will help clear you up to be able to meet your child's needs. I was speaking with a woman the other day, and she was telling me of her past and how she was treated as a child and so on. I used to teach English. That's why I use a lot of letter writing or conversations and communication. And I had her write a letter to her younger self as a parent, and also saying, inviting them to say, hey, the adults in your life weren't able to give this to you when you needed it. I'm here now. And that was an exercise for her to look at her past self and process that. And that was a breakthrough for her. Now that's not a breakthrough for, I mean, that's not for everybody, but again, I'll explore that with you when we have that conversation.
So right now, I want to take a break and just share with our audience. We've been going for 34 minutes. I want to share the thought of the week. No, it has been great stuff. I mean, really, really wonderful stuff. And our producer is going to put it up on the screen. So we're going to let Marcus take a drink or something. Uh, so the thought of the week is the joy of our salvation gives us the strength to face the storms in the midst of our lives. I always repeat the thought of the week or the thought for the week. The joy of our salvation gives us the strength to face the storms in the midst of our lives. And while I say that, I want us to remember that Marcus is here as an expert, and we have an opportunity to ask questions, make comments. He's willing, only too willing to respond and answer and let us know how we can deal with the challenges of our preteens, particularly with regards to anxiety, depression, and all the other challenges that we are faced with. So, we also want to play a video at this time. Dexter, I think you had it lined up. I'm seeing it on the screen. And we're going to get some commentary from Marcus after the video has been played. Let's go.
What's up, guys? You heard that U2 song? You got to get yourself together. You got stuck.
in a moment. Ooh, that's very off. You got stuck in a moment and you can't get out of it. Well, here's a thought. If you ever feel stuck in a moment, I'm gonna share with you, oh man, a beautiful idea that was shared by Miss Lisa Nichols. Let's jump right into it, alright? Welcome, life lovers. This is Lessons on Living a Good Life, channel dedicated to sharing with you fresh perspectives on how to live a good life and enjoy it. I am your host, Marcus Aurelius Higgs, and let's start it off with a quote. Mr. T.S. Eliot, he says, "Every moment is a fresh beginning." A long time ago, I made a video about how people always start at the beginning of cycles. That's why they're New Year's resolutions. But if we look at cycles, we can always go smaller and smaller and smaller. There's every new month, we divide it like that. Then there are week cycles, and then there are daily cycles, and even the day has 24 hours that we've separated as we rotate around the sun. And then there are minutes. For me, the smallest cycle is the breath, and even that breath can be elongated or shortened. But it's a cool thought that in this moment, in this next breath, is a moment to start again. This came back to me as I'm doing this series on starting, these 5 videos. Check out the playlist if you want to see other videos on starting. But Lisa Nichols, she was talking about her life experience. And if you don't know her, I would encourage you to take a look into her life. She has this company, Motivating the Masses. Second lady of color to be publicly traded on the stock market. First one being Oprah. Awesome life, awesome life. Just jump into her life if you want to be inspired. But she said her life was about mastering getting back up. Brings to mind the Chinese quote, fall 7 times, get back up 8. And how she says it, I'll put a link to her video inside the description, but she was saying, your past doesn't equate your future. Your yesterday doesn't equal your today or tomorrow. And the mistakes of last month or last year do not define your next decision. Reinvention is available to everybody at every moment. And there are a lot of re's in your life. Now, this is how she said it. She says it with such fervor and passion. I love the way she speaks. She says, reset, restart, recommit, recharge, redesign, redirect. There are a lot of re's in life. As a person, a lover of words, with all those re's, it was beautiful when I heard it. And that's the thought I want to leave with you now. When students take a test, I have them understand a test is a snapshot of maybe where you are at the moment, but they don't define where you can go in your potential for the future. It is now in this cycle of this breath, you have the ability to recommit, recharge, restart. If you can't carpe diem, seize the day, carpe punctum, seize the moment, seize the point. I hope that encourages you today. I'm gonna leave you with one more quote. This one is by C.S. Lewis, awesome writer again. You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. Hold that in your pocket today. I wish you all the best. Alright guys, share this video if it inspired you. This is Marcus Aurelius Higgs, wishing you joy in the pursuit of your highest potential. Peace.
Wow. Comments, Marcus.
You know, I'll say like this. I don't know where he found that. I'm glad the producer did. Um, I'm glad for the past life Marcus, the life past Marcus lived. And there's the thing: when you put a good word out there, good words come back to you, and it
Mm-hmm.
speaks to me again. And it's just like I needed to hear that. I needed to hear that. Andy, you're gonna watch an episode that you did maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and yeah, you put a word out there for you, Andy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and yeah, there are a lot of re's in your life, but even still, you can't. I was telling my dad this yesterday. You can't change the past. You can change the way you look at it,
Yes.
and that will help you take action to now. The trajectory of the future is yet written, so you can still write it in a field of potential.
Right.
Man, I love that guy right there. This guy with these glasses. Hey,
I love it. I love it.
my
I love it.
goodness, who is he?
Yeah. Wow. Ah, something comes to mind.
Hmm.
Our favorite and most committed supporter is on, Gracie Vincent. Good evening to the panel. Good evening to you, Gracie. We have with us
Oh,
Marcus
thanks.
Aurelius Higgs in the house, and he's been sharing some amazing nuggets with regards to parenting and the challenges of dealing with preteens, particularly how they deal with the challenges of navigating parenthood, observations of signs and mood swings, you name it, the full works. What I want to look at now is single parents, whether it's single mom or a single dad. How do you help them to deal with the negative influence of a preteen going to school, seeing their other classmates having a balanced family life? Philosophically, mommy and daddy is there. They go out on picnics and so on. And it's a different lifestyle because it's a different environment. And they come home and you can see that there's something missing.
Mm,
And that single parent, that mom or that dad, has to deal with it. How can we help them navigate that challenge? Because it will come from time to time.
sure, sure, sure. I would even go on to say, even if you have two parents in the home,
Uh huh.
we weren't meant to parent alone. We parent in pods. Actually, like in human development, primates, we're inside a community. It's called allo parenting. There's a book on it called Mothers and Others, but we parent in communities. It takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to support a parent. And oftentimes in communities of faith, you want to find other trustworthy present adults. And that could be coaches, that could be teachers, that could be other parents. So if you are a mother, seek these out. You might find them in where you work out at the gym, or you might find them at work. You might find them again in your place of worship. And again, you want to vet these people. You want to make sure that they're trustworthy. Um, if you are a family like this, look out for the single parents. My father was a single parent when he came to the Bahamas. I want to show you this. That's all right. Let me see if I can show you. You can't see it, but this picture behind me, it's a father feeding his son on the beach some coconuts. Yeah, 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 yeah. So if you are a more, I don't want to say stable family, but if you are a family who can provide space to help alleviate the burdens or the load of single parents, by all means reach out. That I was around my aunties, my uncles. We have a family here, but I understand everybody doesn't have family. But that's why other people matter. We need community. Um, to the mother, you don't have to go it alone. Don't think you have to go it alone. And I know that's easy said than done because you're trying to juggle work, food on the table, and then maybe the personality and attitude, and then your own self care. Life supports those who support life, and there is support. So ask around. Um, these are my thoughts on it. I would need to know more details of the individual, but yeah, those are my thoughts.
Thank you for sharing. As we continue to progress in life, Marcus, there are times when we have to, as parents, make tough decisions. And like I said, I just love keeping it real.
Yeah.
Parents may have to change jobs. Parents may have to move from a different neighborhood. Say, for example, if you are in the military, you may have to change locations from country to country, as you may be a senior officer and you're seeking promotion, and these different bases you'd have to go through the process of taking your family. Of course, there's the availability of schools and communities and so on, but the children then feel as though things are disrupted. I made friends here, and now I have to go and make friends there, uh, and so you have this challenge that everything seems to be in bits and pieces rather than a whole. How do parents navigate that? Because it's their career, it's their lives, it's necessary. They have to earn a living, they have to take care of the family, pay the bills, put food on the table, etc. But when that situation comes and it impacts in a way in which Their preteens are not happy. They're not settled. How do parents deal with that?
So I'll say two things to this. First is that's why we were trying to establish the identity early, because you're right,
Right.
this could make or break a child.
Yeah.
Um, when you establish that identity early, wherever that kid goes, that kid knows who I am, and this is what I bring. I myself was born in California, grew up in Alabama, back to California, then back to the Bahamas by the time I was 12. Um, I think one of the reasons why I am so confident is because each time I had to figure out, okay, who am I to figure this situation out? Now, I understand everybody is different. So when you take a child like that and you are moving around, like life happens and we give it meaning. One empowering meaning is to invite the child into the decision making process of how we're going to manage this. And when we say how to manage this, they need regularity back in their life. So when you're moving to a new spot, you're right, they are by definition disrupted or dysregulated. Um, in the show up framework, we have what we called collaborative problem solving. So as the kid doesn't have to think about it themselves, only by solving it themselves, they're doing it in collaboratively with the parent, and they're not judged for because kids often think, why, what's wrong with me, am I the problem? But then it's like, no, 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 the family's going through this, and if the family's going through this, let's have a family conversation. um I think we need, yeah, we need to let our kids know you're valid in experiencing what you're feeling, and we're here to help each other out, depending on what your family culture is, because again, culture is just collective identity. So again, we're coming back to who are you, and in the show up framework that I've put together, S's start with a strong identity. Yeah.
Great. The show up framework. How did you name it by that? What inspired you to give it that name, the show up framework?
um I was putting together a parenting plan,
Uh-huh.
and I presented it to a friend who's an entrepreneur, and he's like, like, I'm trying to run my business, and I want to show up for my kid. And it just clicked. I want to use his words, and I was just like, show up, yeah. So then that was the word. But then I said, well, what are the skills that kids need for the 21st century? It's communication, collaboration, creative thinking, and critical thinking. And all of that happens from your identity. So then I just worked in the words. S's start with a strong identity, their virtues and values by which they'll meet the world. And again, oftentimes kids from communities of faith, they this is taught to them at a young age. Yeah. The second thing is H, hold space for collaboration. So they learn how to work with people. And again, that's getting over that mistrust. O is open up communication. The quality of our communication is directly related to the quality of our life. And then W is wonder and explore this world together. That means you're setting out long term projects that you're doing based on your virtues and values, adding to the community, except you're doing it as a parent, and they're also doing their own project, and it gives you something to talk about. All right. And then UP is unveil your potential. You do that by celebrating. Everything you do, we celebrate. Um, so you set that joy before you. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I love it. I love it. I love it. I would love to see some comments and questions. I don't know if the producer has anything that he wants to add. This is so valuable, this content, this information. We need it. Now, I'm looking at something here and it reminds me of a movie that I saw. I can't remember exactly the name of the movie, but what happened is that the young children who were living with their parents
Mm-hmm.
became more open and receptive to their peers than their parents.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a term, it's called peer pressure. Um, as preteens become more influenced by their peers, how can parents encourage them to make wise choices and wise decisions so that the negative peer pressure, which they are somehow or the other more attracted to, does not create such that influence or impact upon their lives.
Yeah. I'm glad that you acknowledge positive peer pressure too.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they are going to turn towards their peers. Like, I just want to acknowledge that first because they're looking at different viewpoints now. And they're going to look to the people who are closest or identify with them. Now, that said, as a parent, if you're starting at the preteen stage, you kind of have a head start. That's why we need to establish this foundation of trust from then. The preteen years are characterized by doing risky things. Now, there are healthy risk and there are healthy risk. There are things that you can rebound from easily, and things that are kind of one way. And it's having those conversations with your kids. Your kid is going to make the decisions that they do make, and I'm not saying just throw your hands up and say, "Oh, you have to deal with it," but it's one, establishing that at the beginning, understanding what that identity is, and then finding the space to say no and yes, so that there's still trust. And then when, if and when they go do that negative peer pressure, the pressure could be pushing them to do something that is, yeah, that's not in line with your values. Yeah. um is your child able to push back from the inside out? That's my question. And again, if I say be mindful of the voice with which you speak to children, for in time that is the voice with which you speak to themselves, do they have that information in them to say, oh no, this is who I am? If you've ever dealt with some people, I mean, be it Joseph, left the Pharaoh's, when his coat was held, he left it right there, took off his coat and just broke off running. It was, this is not who I am. This is not who I am. As simple as that. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, it's like, no, we're not going to bow. This is not who we are. So when you know what that strong identity is, and you know what, there will be other, I'm sure there were other people who have bowed down, or there are other people who stayed inside that woman's arms. This is life. They have to make amends for it. When David killed Bathsheba's wife or husband, put him in the front line, he made amends for it and said, Lord, give me a clean heart. There are times to be restored and be forgiven, but then there are other times it's just like, no, 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 this is who I am. I do not do that. So, and mind you, again, we are the stories we tell ourselves. I'm telling all of you, I'm telling this to you because we have a shared story in scripture. So, Andy, I don't know if you're still with us or if we're still
Marcus, I
live.
really do.
Okay. Yeah.
We the the question
All
is,
right.
how do we show
All
up?
right.
Are we there?
We're here. We're here.
We're here. Okay,
All
so
right.
Dexter, is there anything from your mindset that you're thinking about that you want to throw out at Marcus now? We just have a few minutes to go before our time with him comes to an end. I really want somebody to shoot something at Marcus. Not literally, eh? Not literally. Don't get
Come. It's okay. No worries.
so much
It's all good to hear.
valuable nuggets this guy is sharing. Yeah. Hmm. Right. Mm. Yeah.
Mm,
Wow.
mm,
Thank you for sharing, my brother. Go ahead, Marcus.
No, no, I was just about to say, I'm in the Bahamas now, and I'm like, there is loud, and then there's demeaning. So I mean, some people who not from the islands, they don't understand that. Like, people can be loud,
Yeah.
and it's all love there. And then there's when there's loud, and there's like, I'm trying to tear you down. Like, let always let our words be edifying. So yeah, let's,
Mm,
even if they are loud, or even if they are quiet. But yeah,
mhm.
that's a good point, Mr. Producer. Voice in my head.
Yeah.
I don't know your name, but yeah, our
Dexter, Dexter.
Dexter. Our
Yeah,
kids
yeah,
will model us. They will model
yeah,
us.
yeah. Definitely, definitely. And we have that responsibility to really be that role model that we and I know that sometimes we are so challenged because we didn't have role models, and we have to kind of feel and experiment along the way. But what I have observed is that we live in a modern age and a modern time where technology provides so much knowledge, so much information. And while some of it may be just cosmetic, the idea of having family time always comes to my mind when I think about the examples. Um, there's a saying that the family that prays together stays together. Now, I love that saying because practically it sounds good. But
Mm,
do folks really understand, Marcus and Dexter, what that means? It is not just getting up at 6 in the morning or 5:30 in the morning, whatever time, and saying, okay, let's pray. No, I personally think, and this is my personal feeling about it, what it means is that the family must have a structure. The family must have a plan. The family must have a vision and must be specific. And so when we hold hands, whatever time we hold hands and we get down and we pray, everybody's on the same page and we are all together heading in the same direction so that our prayer is not divided. It's focused, it's constant, and it is saying something to the Father. When you deal with parents, are there challenges that they are facing with getting their family to spend family time together? I mean, like date night. You the kids are out, you go out with the wife, you go to their favorite place of dinner or whatever. But what about family dates? The entire family just spending that quality time together. How about that?
mm. I- Is that a question? How about that? I've
Yeah,
yeah, no, no,
yeah.
I'm all for
Because
that.
I'm thinking parents would come to you and say, but we can't do that because this one has to go there, this one has this time, this one. And that is why I went back to the fact that praying together is not just praying, it's about
Mm,
having a collective family agreement, a vision.
yeah.
But if that is absent, then we have a challenge.
We make time for the things we care about.
Hmm.
We make time for the things we care about. And what that means is, even if you have a busy day, bookend your days. You
Mm,
bookend your days with the communion with the divine.
yeah.
And and a family that comes together is by saying, yeah, we are led by a higher power together. If individually we're led by that power, then together we put that on this family. And if it's hard to find, let it be once a week. uh, in certain traditions, it's on a Friday night, as we used to practice, or a Sunday church, or the Sunday meal after church or so. Like, make a pocket of time for you, because we make time for the things we care about. And if it's at the end of the day where you go to individuals' beds one by one, I mean, you could save time if bring them all together. I always joke with my cousins. I remember I spent the night by their house, and I remember waking up in the morning and them waking me up, and they dragged us all to their parents' room. And that's where we had family worship. One person would read a verse, and then we'd sing these hymnals and songs that they knew from memory. One of them would call out, but then, the regular ones, and then we'd pray. And now we're grown, right, with our grace. And I still talk about that. I still remember that. And I think that's why we turned out the way we did, quite honestly.
Wonderful. Foundational upbringing. So Gracie Vincent has a comment. They
Yeah.
were open with me. Gracie, I'd like you to clarify. When you say they were open with you, was it your parents that were open with you or your children? Just reply to us on the screen because I want to get the perspective. Marcus has to leave in about 60 seconds or so. But I want to get that perspective. When you say they were open with me, just tell us, was it your parents were open with you or your children were open with you? So that we can get a clear perspective on it. I love the comment though. We need to be open with our children as we are open with ourselves and definitely open with God. And that is a three pronged collaboration that I think is extremely important, an unbreakable chain of communication that we must consistently have as parents, especially if we are the men that are taking the lead in our home and setting the example as the role models, as the leaders, letting our children know that from a divine perspective, this is God's perfect plan. And they absolutely have the opportunity to choose as they formulate their own values, as they look at their own strengths and their own challenges. I was just trying to, encourage Gracie to respond there. She's not
Yeah.
responding. I don't know why.
It's all right.
But in terms of a parting word with regards to all that we have been discussing, what are the key elements of being consistently able to truly, she has something there for us, Marcus. My children, I was a single parent. They give me no problem when I gone to
Going to
work.
work.
They knew the rules. Wow.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. See, I love that. That's clarity. I get
Hmm.
that message. Thank you so much for being that vulnerable and sharing with us and that open, Gracie. So, final words, Marcus. Let's just wrap up a bit.
Um, you know, I, we speak of saying being trustworthy present parent. What I'd love to leave with is, and maybe we don't all have wonderful kids like Gracie's kids, but even still, we will drop the ball sometimes. We will fail, and what we say in communication is there is conflict in every relationship. The conflict doesn't define the relationship. What defines it is how we manage the conflict. If we don't care, we don't come back. If we do care, we say, hey, we're going to figure this out. What were your needs? What were my needs? How can we work together? There are conversation patterns, there are strategies on how to deal with conflict and how to grow from it. Um, but know that when you deal with it, that's when you're communicating, I care. That's when you're communicating, hey, I'm in this for the long haul. So, when you fall short, that's all right. All of us have fallen short in the glory of God. Like you get back up and you understand and you get back at it. Like the video said, there's a lot of re's. Every breath is a new moment to start again.
Yeah. So, we have LBW Radio saying, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Wow.
sir.
I remember a particular guy running for president. His keywords were, yes, we can.
A yeah, yeah.
We can be the change that we desire to see in the world and set that example. Ah, Gracie Vincent says, well, my daughter died very young, but still with my son dealing with drugs. But each day he's trying very hard, but he will get there. Our prayers and our thoughts
I'll
are
keep him in
with
my
you, Gracie,
words.
with regards
Yes.
to that. Definitely, we appreciate again your openness and we are thankful for your comment. We support you in your challenges with your son. To God be the glory. So, we have to let Marcus go at this time, begrudgingly. But
That's all
we
right.
thank you so much, sir, for being with us and for sharing the wonderful nuggets of information, the content that we think is really valuable and timely as parents, faith based parents, struggle with their teens. And we know that there are better times ahead because out of every struggle is the opportunity to grow a muscle of resilience. And I firmly believe that. So thank you, Marcus. We appreciate you. And we'll have something for you probably in a week's time with regards to copies MP3, MP4 for your references, and to also post on your social media platforms as well. Godspeed, my brother.
Thank you for sharing your platform, brother producer. It's been a wonderful time. Gracie, thank you for your audience. And Andy, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, my
All right.
friend. Okay,
Be
bye.
well.
Yeah.
We have come to the end of tonight's repeat. I want to thank all of you for taking the time out to listen. And like I said earlier on, if you missed this program last year, you got an opportunity to see it this evening. This program was truly packed. Once again, on behalf of Brother Andy and Sister Gabriella, to apologize for being unable to bring to you tonight's broadcast. And this is again because there is carnival in Trinidad at this moment, and the area where they live it's pretty loud, so it would be very much difficult to come on live. So I took the opportunity to share something with you tonight, and I hope that you would have been blessed. Don't forget, Breaking Out of Depression will be back on next week, Tuesday. Don't miss that program. I want to encourage you to tell your friends and let others know that Breaking Out of Depression will be on again next week, Tuesday, Lord willing. And remember, the focus for 2026 is the family. Again, once again, a pleasant good evening to all. And Bernardine S. Woods, thank you for staying tuned. And we trust that this little recap would have blessed you in some way or another. And we, as always, want to thank you for commenting and participating this evening.